In this video, we're going to talk about the Dio album by Paul Gilbert, released on April 8th, 2023 through the Music Theories label. The album was created because Paul Gilbert is a very big Ronnie James Dio fan. One day he came up with the idea and decided to go with it. So first I'll tell you a little bit about Paul Gilbert. I'll give you my first impressions on the album, then I'll divide the video. I'll talk about Black Sabbath songs, Rainbow songs, and Dio songs. I'll give my final thoughts. I'll give it a score out of 10. But stick around to the end of the video because in addition to all this, I'm going to give you some of the Dio songs that I would like to hear covered if Paul ever decides to do a follow-up. Paul Gilbert is a hard rock and heavy metal guitarist. He started out in the band Racer X. They released 6 albums, 2 in the late 80s and 3 in the late 90s, early 2000s. In 1989, he released his first album with Mr. Big. They were a supergroup with Eric Martin on lead vocals, Paul Gilbert on guitar, Billy Sheehan on bass, and Pat Torpey on drums. They were considered to be a glam metal band, although I would consider them to be more like arena rock and hard rock. They released 7 albums on and off since the late 80s. And Paul Gilbert also released multiple instrumental solo albums over the years. When I first listened to this album, I was a little surprised that it was all instrumental at first. I guess he could have found a vocalist, but it's not really easy to find someone who can match Ronnie James Dio's vocals. So this being an all instrumental album was an interesting choice. The sound on the album is very good. There's a lot of guitar shredding on the album. Paul was faced with a challenge of transcribing Dio's voice into guitar, and I thought he did it very well. The album has 12 tracks, 4 tracks each from Rainbow, Black Sabbath, and Dio. The first Black Sabbath song was Neon Nights. Very good choice. I felt that it's one of the fastest paced and more energetic Black Sabbath songs. Paul Gilbert does a good job of matching Ronnie's voice, and he does it throughout the entire song. The second Black Sabbath song is Country Girl from Mob Rules. This wouldn't have been my first choice for a song from Mob Rules, but I will let you know what that is in the end of the video. It's still a great song, one of the doomier Black Sabbath songs from the first 2 Ronnie albums. Has a great guitar riff, originally written by Tony Iommi, and has some clean sections, which makes it a great song. Third Black Sabbath song is Heaven and Hell, a great song to cover because it has the slow and doomy opening guitar riff and the memorable bass guitar line in the verses. This song captures the essence and atmosphere of the original. The last Black Sabbath song is Lady Evil, another great song with a bass guitar intro. Another Black Sabbath song, it's not too slow, it moves at a mid-pace and has some great guitar riffs. The first Rainbow song was Kill the King, a live track originally from the Long Live Rock and Roll album. This one actually, this album has an anniversary coming up very soon, so expect a full review of this on my channel. But this song, it's fast-paced, similar to Neon Nights. I thought it was a good choice. One of the more energetic Rainbow songs. Paul also had the challenge of interpreting both Ronnie James Dio and Ritchie Blackmore, so I think this song was very good, and also has like the best guitar solo out of any of the other songs on the album. Next, Man on the Silver Mountain. This one goes back to 1975. One of the blueprints for traditional heavy metal. This song was actually just covered by Saxon on their More Inspirations album. This one has some awesome riffs, originally by Ritchie Blackmore. Dio's vocals were perfect for the song, so I thought Paul Gilbert did a very good version of this. Then Long Live Rock and Roll from the album of the same name. Really good song to cover. It's more of a hard rock or traditional heavy metal song. The song has some cool grooves. Really great song. I thought Paul Gilbert did a good job of matching Ronnie's vocals on this one. And the fourth Rainbow song was Starstruck. This is one of the deeper cuts from the Rising album. It's a good song. The original has some really great guitar riffs, more reminiscent of Ritchie Blackmore's days in Deep Purple, so that's why I like this song a lot. It's still heavy metal, but more of like 70s classic rock. The first Dio band song was Stand Up and Shout. I thought it was a good choice. It was very melodic and has a lot of energy, and it's fast-paced. It's the opening track from the Holy Diver album, one of the best heavy metal albums of the early 80s. That goes into Holy Diver, the title track of the same album. It's great because Paul's able to use his guitar to create the atmosphere of this classic heavy metal song. It also has a very familiar melody and a great song choice. The original had some awesome guitar playing by Vivian Campbell, and Paul Gilbert does the song very well. Then Don't Talk to Strangers, another one from the Holy Diver album. Really good choice. It had the slow intro. It allows Paul to play some more emotional guitar melodies, and the rest of the song is very fast and energetic. And the final Dio song was The Last in Line, the title track from the album of the same name. Really good choice because it has a slower, clean intro, and like the previous song, has more like emotional playing. The main body of the song is more classic heavy metal. Paul Gilbert plays some melodic lead guitar playing over the heavy power chords. It's also the closing track and a great song. Overall, it's a very good album. I usually don't like covers albums, but this one took the songs and they made them like very different from the original. So for that reason, I thought it was a very good album. Like I promised, here are some songs I would like to see covered if Paul ever decides to do a sequel. The first is Egypt, The Chains Are On from The Last in Line by Dio. It's a very epic song. I think it would work well as an instrumental. Next is Dream Evil from the album of the same name. It's a really great song and album and just a perfect song to cover. For Black Sabbath, I would have chosen Sign of the Southern Cross, my favorite Dio song with Black Sabbath. This one has a great Tony Iommi guitar riff and some of the best Dio vocals. I would have also chosen I from Dehumanizer, very underrated album by Black Sabbath. That one has some awesome guitar playing and vocals. For Rainbow, I would go with Stargazer. It's a very big, epic song, and maybe Paul could have an orchestra play with that one. And I would also go with 16th Century Greensleeves, the first Rainbow album. I've always liked the song. It's just a great classic metal song. My final score for this is an 8 out of 10. If you're a fan of guitar instrumental music or Ronnie James Dio in general, I think you will enjoy this album. Please remember to give this video a like and a subscribe. Here's a playlist of 2023 new album reviews, and I will see you in the next one.